Alright, what's up YouTube? So, I wanted to make a quality settings video for you guys talking about what truly is the best quality settings, because I've been seeing a lot of pros just doing it completely wrong, misleading people. I wouldn't say that they're doing it on purpose, because I also see them doing it to themselves. What do I mean by this? Well, I've watched a lot of pro streamers, and these pro streamers will go to LAN tournaments and be completely confused of their own settings. Something that we've had for quite a few CODs now. They've been basically the same basic settings, and still I see these streamers completely confused by their own settings. And these are the same streamers that don't even actually edit their own videos. They just pay somebody else to do it. So I bet they just have somebody else do their settings for them too, because they don't ever get their settings right until they get back home and the game is released, and then they play a few games. And what I've been noticing here lately is that a lot of streamers, pro streamers, are running at anywhere from 150 to 180 FPS. These streamers also have a 13900K and a 4090 in most of these pro streamer setups, and they're also rocking a dual PC setup, so that way they can be able to get the most amount of frames that they can possible, because the second PC does all the streaming. What I'm going to show you guys here today is that their settings are wrong, and that I can show you ways of getting way more FPS than what these pros are showing you, and have more quality settings turned on than what they're telling you to have turned on. And we're also going to try to match our frame rate to our monitor. The reason why I say this also is because streamers will tell people to completely torch their quality settings to get the most FPS possible. And the reason why that's wrong is because not everybody has a 240 hertz monitor. So having that 240 FPS in your top left corner, if your monitor is only 60 hertz, isn't a flex. It is wasted FPS that could have been used for better quality settings, so that way you can be able to separate your enemy's player model from the background a lot more. So I'm gonna get on with this and stop with my rant. And the first thing that I actually want to talk about, setting wise, isn't actually even in the game. So what you want to do first is actually just close out your game. And the first thing we want to do is that we want to pull up our files and go to where our games are stored. Yours might be in a different location from mine. I've made a specific file for all my games. What you want to do is open that up and click on Call of Duty, click on Players, and you're going to see here we got quite a few CST files, but the main file that we're going to focus on is options for COD 23 CST. Go ahead and open that up in notepad form, and you're going to get a little pop-up like this. Now there's quite a bit of settings in here, and there's in-game settings and non-in-game settings. If you change a lot of these settings, it will actually affect the in-game settings that you already have, so I don't recommend messing with a whole lot of stuff in here like other people have talked about. What we want to focus on is actually the second paragraph alone, where it says thread count for handling the job. What we want to do here is put the amount of cores of our CPU, so that way our game isn't overrunning itself, essentially. And if you don't know the amount of cores that your CPU has, it's actually really easy to look up. All you want to do is pull up a little internet browser and type in your CPU. And just for example, let's just say you have a 10700K. Go to the Intel's website so that way you get the most accurate information. And as you can see, we got a total cores of 8. Simple enough. But let's just say you had a 10700K or better. You're going to see that we got quite a bit of cores here. We got a total cores of 12, but we have efficiency cores and performance cores. What we want to focus on is the performance cores alone. And this 12700K has a total of 8 cores. My 13700K also has 8 cores. So we're going to take that and bring it over to our notepad. Now, by default, this is set to 16. Go ahead and just delete that and put your number. Once you do that, you want to go up to File and save this. Now, before you close out, make sure that you don't have an X right here. If you do, click that X. If you don't, what it's going to do is it's going to actually open this up into another notepad form of your same settings, and you're not going to want that. If you don't have that X, go ahead and just click out over here, and we can go ahead and leave this. Now, the next thing that we want to do before actually opening up our game, we want to go to our GeForce Experience. This is a software that comes with your graphics cards. I'm pretty sure AMD makes it equivalent to this. So if you don't have it, go ahead and download it. It's nice to have. And what we want to do here is optimize our game. What this is going to do is put all of our settings back to default, because what we did with our file is going to change some in-game settings, and we want this to go back to their original default, so that way if anything got messed up in the game, it'll recorrect itself and it'll give us a good blank canvas to start our work from. And you're going to also have the same basic settings that I have. That way you can be able to follow along with this video a lot easier. Once you do that, we're going to go and do one more thing. We want to go to our monitor settings. The way we do that is just to pull up our Windows settings and go to display. If it's not there for you right here, all you gotta do is click on System and click on Display. Scroll down to where you see Advanced Display Settings and go right here is where you're gonna find your different custom frame rates. If you don't have anything higher than 60 Hertz, that's okay. But if you got anything higher than that, go ahead and turn that up. You're going to want that. And before clicking out of this, we're going to also see that we got a little bit more information that we can also take with us to the game. Our frames that our monitor is capable of, and our monitor's resolution. As you can see, mine is 1440p. Yours might say 1080 if you have a 1080p monitor. My bit depth color is 10. Yours might say 8, and that's completely fine. And I can see that I also have the ability to be able to display real HDR at a 600 nit brightness, but I have mine overclocking to 830 nits. My monitor is also overclocking. It's a 240 hertz monitor, and I have it overclocked to 280 hertz. Once we do that, we can go ahead and click out of that, and we can open up our game. Now, to give you guys an idea of what I have, I'm rocking a 13700K and a 4090. So I'm one tier CPU lower than what the pros have right now. A lot of the pros, like Swag, Nick. I don't know about Nick Merckx, to be honest, but Iceman Isaac, a lot of them, they're all rocking an i9 13900K and a 4090, so my CPU just being one tier lower, and still I am going to show you that I can get more frames than they can from these quality settings. So what we're going to do, we're going to go over to our settings, and you're going to see display, quality, and view. This is a good order to have it in. This is how I would recommend going from left to right. What we're going to do here, to get the best FPS, we want to have this in full screen exclusive, but I'm going to put mine in borderless just for the sake of this video right now. Once we do that, we can click our monitor and graphics card of choice. Scrolling down, we can see that we have a screen refresh rate. And here we can be able to set our monitor's resolution. This should be automatically unlocked for you after going in and setting those settings. But obviously if you're locked at a 60 Hertz monitor, you're probably not going to have any access to this. The reason why I don't have access to this is because my monitor is overclocking, and so it locks it out for me automatically. I have an aspect ratio. You want to set your aspect ratio to 16:9. And unless you have a wide, super ultra wide, or one of those type of monitors, you probably want to check your user manual to see what kind of aspect ratio is best suited for your monitor. Scrolling on down, we don't really need to worry about a lot of these settings here, but we want to set this one to custom. We don't want nothing that's going to impact our game's performance. And we want to turn off all of our VSyncs. What this does is that it eliminates screen tearing when you reach a certain amount of FPS that is far beyond your monitor's capabilities. It'll start causing screen tearing. But what I'm recommending and what we're going to do here is try to best match our frames to our monitor's resolution. So we're not going to need this. Custom frame rate limiter. We want to put this on custom, and we want to max out our gameplay custom frame rate limiter for right now. The reason why we want to do this is because we want to be able to see the amount of frames that we're getting in game, so that way we could be able to see if we could be able to turn things up if we have FPS to burn, or if we need to turn things down to get more FPS to better suit our monitor's resolution. I recommend keeping this at 75 or 60. Reason why is because most budget monitors these days are 75 Hertz at least. So that's what I set it to. And this here is for something that's out of focus, and I don't want anything less than 60 frames. But if you are a lower tiered or just an older gen system, I probably would recommend leaving this on 30, because it is something that does have something to do with out of focus. If you have HDR, use it and set it correctly. Just go through the prompts. This is something that can be kind of useful. If you don't set this, you could have brights that are just so bright that it's actually deleting information from your screen because of the brightness being so bright, or vice versa, the darks being so dark that you can't see detail. So please set that if you have it. If you don't have HDR, you probably won't have any access to it. I'm going to set this to custom and set our monitor's resolution to our... And mine is set to 100 because I'm a 1440p monitor. Yours might be 1080, so you might want to set this down to 75. Going down, we want to set... Ooh. I don't know why it does stuff like that. Scrolling down. Upscaling. We want to put this on Fidelity FX Cast. This is basically like a balance setting like you would see in Fortnite. Like, gives you more FPS and really good visual quality as well. Ray tracing. It's going to make your game look really pretty, but you're going to suffer a lot of frame rates having this on. So I wouldn't recommend having that on. VRM scale target. This is default at 80, but people have been complaining and talking about how they have lags and hitches in their game. Turning this down might solve that problem for you. Variable rate shading. We don't want to have this on. Terrible for the game. NVIDIA DLS frame generation. If you have a 40 series graphics card, you're going to have the ability to use this setting here. it's just free frame rate, free FPS. It does suffer from maybe 1 or 2 milliseconds of latency, but it's so minuscule you're not gonna notice it. Scrolling down, we're going to be looking at the more important settings that I recommend you guys focus on when setting your quality settings, and it being textures and details. These settings don't impact your FPS a whole lot. I'll talk more about that, but they make your game look really good. I have my textures set to high. These maybe take maybe 1 or 2 FPS, but make your game look like crap if you have it on low. Quality settings, I have mine on high. This is also just a preference. As you can see, it makes a flower look like a flower. You can't really see it because it's behind my camera instead of this ugly blob. Particle resolution, that is going to have to be turned all the way low. It is terrible in the game. You get a very big impact with lights and flares and stuff like that. Bullet impacts, I don't see this affecting a whole lot of frame rate. So it is a preference. I do like having it on. This is a setting that you're gonna have to restart the game for, so you can wait until the end of doing the rest of your settings, or do it immediately. Shader quality, I have a high peak brightness, as I showed you guys. I have 830 nit peak brightness, so having this on high gives that my game just a little bit more pop with just detail and textures, having this on high. But it might be too dark for you guys if your monitor's brightness isn't so bright, so I'll play around with that if I was you. On-demand texture streaming, this I do recommend having off even if you are a console player. This is something that, from what it says, it's on demand. It's something that takes place while you're playing the game, and it torches your game a lot. Put this on low. This right here is probably the last setting that I would recommend having on high. And what it does, as you can see, it makes the shaders, the shadows look more realistic. And it would help if there's like a player model behind a corner, you would actually know what that is from his shadow being so accurate. Screen space, lighting, shadows, you don't want to have that on. All it does is make blacks blacker, and it's not really something that suffers a lot from frame rate, but it does suffer a lot in visual quality. Don't want it. I do have this on both. As you can see, it gives things a little bit more depth, but like I said, my monitor has a lot of brightness to it, so having this on helps. It does suffer in frame rate a little bit as well, so I wouldn't recommend turning this on unless you have frame rate to burn. This I do recommend turning off. This is basically a type of ray tracing setting. Static reflection quality, I really don't recommend having this on high, but I do it anyways just because I have FPS to burn. This is something that torches FPS a lot as well, and weather also does the same thing. Don't recommend these settings to be on high at all, ever. Water quality, this depends on if you have frame rate to burn or not. I have mine on all and high quality water. I'm not afraid to lose like maybe 10 FPS when I'm in the water, because movement is pretty much chalked anyways when you're in the water, so it might as well just look pretty. Moving on from those settings, you can go ahead and apply that. My game is most likely going to crash because of that one setting that I was telling you about where you have to restart the game. It's quite alright. It might happen for you, might not, but if it doesn't, reset your game so that way the settings act right. Where's my arrow? I'm gonna fast forward this real quick, so we can get this over with. Alright, going back into the settings, we're going to go to view now. And here we have FOV as our first setting. And I'm going to tell you guys that not everybody needs to have this set to 120. I can't stress it enough. If you feel like you aren't landing shots or aim assist feels non-existent to you, I recommend turning this down because 120 obviously isn't for you, and that's okay. Not everybody needs to have it on 120. It's not a make it or break it setting. And like for example, back in Vanguard days when we finally got FOV slider on console, I was originally rocking a 107 to a 110 FOV. It's a great starting middle ground. You're getting a lot more information. You still feel smooth and fast. You're not sluggish like you would feel as 80 FOV. But your player models are still at a decent, reasonable size to where you can land your shots. And aim assist will feel more likely more existent to you. So give it a try. Trust me, you don't need to have it at 120 if you can't land your shots. It's not a flex to have your settings that high. It's just a preference. Scrolling down, we want to have this on effective if you are on a 120 FOV, so that way when you're aiming down sights, your gun doesn't zoom in. Our player model weapon, we want to have at wide, so that way we have a smaller shrunken down gun, so that way player enemy models doesn't disappear behind your weapon as much, and you don't have as much clutter on your screen and you can see more of your peripheral. Scrolling down, motion blurs, we want to have these off like I was talking about in that other setting. It's just crap on your screen. You don't want it. Same way with film grain, turn this all the way down. This adds like some type of filter over your screen and it just softens your game and makes enemy player models blend into the backgrounds more. It's terrible. First person camera movement, you want to turn this down to at least 50%. This will give you the least amount of movement when you're running or firing your weapon. I have mine set to inverted flashbangs because, again, I have a high peak brightness and I don't like being blinded by bright white light. Alright. Now that being it for the quality settings, you can go ahead and save that. And we're going to touch up on a few gameplay settings. You want to have this set to automatic tactical sprint with slide maintain sprint activated, so that way you have fluid slide canceling. If you're not slide canceling, you need to do it. It just makes it so much harder for enemies to hit you. If you ain't doing it, you're falling behind. Make sure you turn off all your automatic mantles. I do keep this one on. This is a preference. Not a lot of people like this. I found that I kind of do. I like the quick snappiness of just having to hit jump and I'm climbing something. Sprinting door bash, have it on. Movement based for your climbing behavior. You want to have this set to prioritize reload, but if you feel like you're picking things up that you're not wanting to pick up, set it to tap to reload. This will set it to where you can be able to reload quick and not be picking up things around you because you would have to hold square to interact. Armor plate behavior, apply this on all. I don't know why they don't have this set to default like that these days. And 1x1 C4, just to say that way you're not wasting all of your inventory, just so that way you can detonate your bombs. And scrolling back up, one more setting that I want to touch up on that I feel like people need to get rid of because I notice that it messes a lot of people up. Parachute auto deploy. Don't want to have this on. I can't tell you how many times I've killed people because their chute automatically deploys and completely chalks them. Turn this off, please. And I know people are going to ask, what kind of sensitivity do you have, right? What are you running, Peppa? Well, I'm rocking a 1010 sensitivity, and I have a tactical stance sensitivity multiplier of a 0.85 with a dynamic curve type. And my custom sensitivities for zoom are also on and set to 0.85 on my low zooms, and my AR scopes is what I like to call them, and then the rest of them being my sniper scopes, I have them set to a full 1. What the 8.5 is going to feel like is 1 less than what your aim assist is. So mine being a 1010, it's going to feel like a 9.9 when I'm aiming down sights. Target aim assist, I've been hearing people turning this off. This is something that you don't want to turn off. Don't get used to having this turned off. This is a type of aim assist, and you do want to have it. It has something to do with rotation and locking on to targets. You don't want to not have this. Please leave it on. Aim assist type, people gas up Black Ops. It's not good. Please stop using it. Leave it on default, so that way you're not getting used to something and then all of a sudden it disappears in the next COD. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Dynamic, on the other hand, isn't going anywhere. Dynamic or linear, that ain't gonna go anywhere. So play around with these. I found that dynamic is the better one for this game. And I also have a 0.00 dead zone, and my left stick max is set to 0.75. And I'm going to tell you, you do not want to go any lower than this. I've been rocking this setting since Vanguard days, so I've been using this for a very long time, and I've just now been seeing pros and streamers talking about this. So I feel like I have a lot of room to talk because they're just now coming out with this and just now putting this into their settings. And they're telling you to go even lower, like in the 40s to 50 range. And I'm going to tell you that that is wrong, and why it's wrong, being because if you are a person like me that abuses rotational aim assist to its full potential, and you aim with your left stick, when you're trying to aim, you're going to overcorrect your shots because it's going to be so reactive and so snappy that you're going to overcorrect, and you're going to be shooting in front of your enemy and have trouble slowing yourself down due to the responsiveness of your left stick. I found a good middle ground really is that 75 or higher, so that way you can be able to get that quick snappiness of your movement but still have that precision that you need, so that way you can abuse your rotational aim assist. Scrolling down, I have my left and right trigger set to 2. This is going to give you a more of a like mouse click on your trigger, so that way you're not slamming your trigger all the way down just so you can activate something. It's more responsive, quicker. I have this for my lethal and tactical, so, and you know that those are already slow. You don't need it any slower. And them are my settings. My quality settings. Well, you guys are gonna probably be like, okay, well, Peppa, you didn't show us the color. How'd you make the color this way? How'd you make your game so pretty, so bright, so vibrant? And the truth is, I didn't do anything to my main visual screen, my main monitor that I play the game from. What you guys are seeing is a filter overlay on my OBS. So if you are a content creator or a streamer, you can copy these settings if you feel like you like them. I found that there's quite a few ways you can set your color gamut in here. But I found that this one probably is the most poppiest, most prettiest in my opinion. I've seen some people just go way too far out with their saturation and everything. Mine is a little bit high to where it's tasteful, in my opinion. People are going way too far with it. And if you do want to get these settings from me, it's super easy. All you gotta do is go into your OBS and go to your game capture and click the right arrow. Click on filters. And down here, this little plus sign, you can be able to pick your color correction. Go ahead and click on that. And then you can be able to copy my settings right here. I did have a rendering delay. I think I turned it down. I didn't like it. And I have my sharpness set to a 0.07. And that is my beautiful, beautiful quality settings. And now what we're going to do after setting all of our settings up is that we're going to run a game, right? Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, is that I was going to show you how much FPS you could be able to get from my quality settings, and I was going to show you that I could be able to get high quality while streaming and recording on the same PC, and that's what I'm doing right now. And as you can see, I'm hitting lows of 250 and highs of 270 hertz. I have found a very good ground right here. So if I really wanted to get closer to that 280 hertz mark, which I'm not going to do in this video, but let's say that I did, I would have to go back into my quality settings and start turning things down. So that way I could be able to find that low end of my FPS to meet closer to my target FPS, if that makes sense to you. But since I'm streaming from the same PC, I feel like if I wasn't streaming right now, I would be hitting my max 280 hertz without a doubt. Because you can expect to lose at least 50 frames just from streaming or recording alone. So I've hit my mark. But if you guys didn't, just go back in there and start messing with your quality settings a little bit more. My recommendation to you guys is to start from the bottom and work your way up. I want you to try to mess with the lowest settings first before you get up to the details and textures, because of these being the more important settings. These settings right here are going to make your game look great, and you're not going to suffer from anything. If you guys even really wanted to, you could just use this category, put this all on low, and forget about it. If you are rocking a lower tiered system or just an older system that just has trouble running this game anymore. Once you find your target frame rate to suit your monitor's resolution, what I want you to go back and go into is to go down into your display settings and click on the custom frame limiter and turn it down to your monitor's resolution, your target frame rate. So that way you're not going to experience any screen tearing if your frame rate decides to go above this limit. And it will help stabilize the frames a little bit more, just to be a little bit more crisper. After you do that, you can go ahead and apply those settings and save it. You're done. You guys now have the best quality settings, the only settings video that you guys are going to ever need again. So if you guys did like this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so that way you can be to see future videos just like this one. I'll see you in the next one, YouTube. Peace.